Good. Welcome, guys. I hope everybody is well. Right, first things first, we're obviously going to go through, what's going to happen in the London trading session. This is obviously me, intraday, and we can, we can, look into yeah, what we're potentially going to be trading, and most importantly, why. All right. There's an open chat here, so feel free to obviously ask me any questions. I'll go through what I need to go through, and obviously then we can, open up the floor for some questions a bit later on. For first things first, like I say, every morning, have a look at the economic calendar. Aussie has had some good employment. Unemployment rates stayed the same. That's good. Employment changed, so quite a big increase, almost double what it was previously. Remember, Aussie, they're obviously involved in this war, but obviously indirectly, but because of obviously through China. China's a key trade partner, so expect numbers to be slightly different potentially next month. Um, but obviously, yeah, good data. So because there's good data, and because of obviously what I potentially scathed through, I'm probably going to avoid Aussie today. Now. Let's have a look at obviously where the dollar's trading and obviously what is happening. So we've had 12 consecutive uh, tax or nighttime tax. We've also had some that's from the US. We've also had some key things happen yesterday. So a Saudi oil tanker was yeah obviously taken and yeah exterminated, if that's even, yeah, I'm just trying to word it in a diplomatic way. They basically took it, so the Strait of Hormuz, Iran are claiming that they've got it under control, and obviously US are claiming that it's open and they've got it under control. All right, so the US have also deployed something which I was reading out. I don't know how much of an impact this is. It's called a B-1 bomber. It's a jet. Feel free to look it up. But obviously, that's being implemented, and so it's at the moment escalation is pretty huge, and obviously that's why we've seen oils up 2.86% back to almost 90. Now we've had a slow start from the dollar and from yields. I'm actually going to have to go with the dollar. The only thing on a macro point of view is that there are kind of talks happening in the background, but it's very early. You got Oman, I think it's Oman trying to be the kind of diplomatic partner between, so yeah, let's wait and see what is happening here. So we do have, a 10-day ceasefire talks pending, so we do have to take that into consideration. However, I don't think I'm just going to get rid of this as well. I don't think that we will, see that happening. I think it's going to be escalation based today. And obviously, I'm basing this on oil. Oil is flying, back up to this, 90. It was last year, beginning of June. And obviously, yeah, it isn't a great place for obviously oil to be. It's going to increase inflation worries. We got yields screaming higher. If we look at yields on a daily, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they've just rocketed this week. And then obviously dollar on a daily has been a bit intermittent, which I don't mind. That I quite like it. Stocks are down too, so that to me, opening is funneling price, into us being proactive for the dollar. All right. Yes, there's talks happening in the background. If that happens, you're gonna see, obviously. the main aspect of any kind of ceasefire fire is it's going to lower the the worries of escalation happening, and obviously that there in turn will obviously lower the worries about higher inflation. Now, yeah, that's obviously what we've got to expect. If we look through history, most of the ceasefire talks have happened at the weekend or early on in a Monday. So we've got to kind of yeah got to kind of take that into to consideration. So because of that, I'm not now, looking at the dollar. I'm not going to say that 101,500, but I am going to say potentially this area. I think there's a higher probability of us hitting this area than there is if we marked, middle of this range where all these wicks are here. I personally think there's a higher probability of us entering, this area here, as opposed to us, coming in and then down and entering this area here. All right. So remember trading probabilities. We've got a nice level of support here, nice floor, hard to obviously break through. It broke through it on Tuesday, tried to break through it Wednesday, it's tried to break through it again today. So for that reason, we're going to be trading with the dollar. Now, if we're looking at our confluences here, we've obviously got escalation, confluence number one, macros, dollar chart, confluence number two, yields chart, confluence number three, oil, confluence number four, stock market's down, confluence five, so there's lots and lots of reasons, why we should be going with the dollar. So let's just briefly have a look at our GBP trade yesterday. Posted this yesterday morning, hit TP1. We busted up here in the afternoon. We actually triggered here. It did hit TP in the morning. I carried on holding. Yeah, but I was happy. I think I closed out about here. Had two entries, and obviously this is you're always going to have this. It doesn't matter what account you trade. Spread. We did tap our third entry. That would have been lovely, but you know what? It didn't even trigger. For me either. So you've got to smile and shrug it off. So I'm expecting some downward momentum here. So let's have a look at this from a daily point of view. All right, I'm going to mark the daily high, the previous daily high. I don't think there's any hope in that being hit in the previous daily low. All right, real kind of indecision candle here. All right, Asia. We've obviously got our Asia, low here. I'm actually expecting this to be broken, and then obviously we've got our Asia high here, which is pretty much the daily high. So we've already in the last kind of few hours burst down here. So I think if we're gonna go anywhere, we're gonna have to look into something like this. And if I just want to range this because just want to range it. So 17. Ideally, I want to be about 20 pips. So I want to be 10 pips either side of this daily. So let's have a look here. Where does this get us here? Let's just get rid of this. 330 and 330. There we go. Right. That's what I'm kind of looking at here. All right. I am expecting a bit of a pull back, but obviously I would like to kind of target these lows here. I'm expecting quite an active London. So I'm expecting these kind of, I'm going to get rid of this. I'm expecting these to be hit. But obviously we want to err on the side of caution, and obviously we want to allow a bit more space So I'm going to go for something like this today on GBP USD. I want it to pull back. There's no point in me, entering if it's not. Five. There we go. Right. So I have. Do you know what? I have so many questions on. How do we lay the trades out, and I always respond back, and you probably asked me yesterday. I always respond back. Have you watched the lives, right? Because part of the reason why I've changed the layout is because I want to be the guy who's doing everything live because one, because I can, and two, because I want you guys to understand why. We're going to go for TP1 here because we've got obviously, lots of rejections from here. And so I'm pretty happy with that. So that is my GBP USD trade. Just get rid of this one here and I'll put that in right now. There we go. Copy and paste. There we go. Trade idea. So there we go. Right, that's GBP USD here. Euro, all right. This was our trade from yesterday. Obviously, if we'd have held, it'd be full TP. I actually closed out at TP1 because I hadn't had not enough. But I personally don't like holding trades into the evening. So on a daily time frame here, all right, if we're looking at this, it's tight price action. Look at this, it isn't moving higher, it isn't moving, lower. And obviously, I'm looking at this now from a technical point of view here. The other thing I quite is just quite interesting about is Asia has moved, not moved a ton, but obviously we've got our Asia high and our Asia low here. So if we just for argument's sake, I'm going to use boxes because it's going to save me a bit of time. We'll make it green. Let's just do our previous daily. Should be down here. All right, so I'm going to mark this one in like a red. And all I'm doing this for is just so that I can identify, certain things that we can look to kind of target here. And again, I'm going to go with this Asian high. I know everyone's going to be looking at trend here, but the point of us looking at macros is that obviously we've got to identify what the direction before because technicals are subjective. Yeah. I quite like that, but we're gonna have to go a little bit higher on this one. It's gonna have to be something like that. And I actually like this because it allocates us a good amount of space. I mean, we could raise up to 300 and then raise this up to 500. That's going to give us a real, a nice kind of space. It's a bit of a round, number. And then we can also then look at our target as if we did these lows here. I actually don't think that's too bad at all. So if we did 450 and 225, so that'd be 22 and a half pip stop and a 45 pip TP. So if we get rid of this, all we're doing is targeting the previous daily low. All right, so I'm pretty happy with this. Like I'd said, this week's going to be really hard because we've got, the major escalation happening, which is being priced in, but then we've also got, potential peace talks happening. All right, so just need to be aware of that. Okay, yellow, yellow. Right, TP1. I'm just going to raise this a little bit higher. I want to target this. Let's go for these lows here, right? You can see here, if I leave my line here, you can see obviously all of the rejections here. I don't think that's a bad TP1 to have. So that is Euro USD, right? So trade idea, right? There we go. So let's have a look at yen quickly. I don't think I'm going to even going to be touching yen. I actually think Monday we're going to see a bit of a downfall here. Remember, we do have some jobs data a bit later on. We also have to be aware of this interest rate decision. I actually think this is going to be really interesting because it's the first one that we've had. So I am interested to, see more the statement afterwards. All right, your euro is always on point. All right, its data is always pretty much as forecast. There's never really any surprises, but I'm actually interested in whether they're going to bring up that the escalation. I'm going to hold my overall on USDJPY. It's a big gamble, so you obviously have to be aware of that. Now gold is the interesting one. All right, so gold on a daily, we've obviously got a previous, let's mark these up in boxes, previous daily high, previous daily low here. All right, let's mark this in green. uh Session. All right, so we've had, Monday had a really big Asia. Tuesday had a really big Asia. All right. Wednesday, we've obviously had, pretty kind of, yeah, small, smallish Asia, So that's obviously this one here. So this is our Asia here, right? And it's pretty small. So what does that mean? Historically, the probability is we're either going to have an active London or an active New York or an active London and an active New York. All right. So I actually think that this could drive to the downside here. So I really, really, like this Asian, low here. We've obviously broken through. So we do need to be aware of that. But I'm going to make our bottom our Asia, all right? Because I don't want to really push it any lower. So if we were to go, let's go 4415 and 425. Let's do something like, it's a little bit higher, isn't it? So we can't do that. 10, 42. I want to push it a little bit higher. Yeah, do that. And then obviously it's going to allocate us a bit of space here. So I'm pretty happy. Did I just get rid of a box? I'm just going to have a look at the daily again. Yeah. Sorry, I do need to, I want this one to be targeted because that's all we're going to target. Let's have a look now. So this might trigger pretty quickly. So I'm looking at something like this. However, we obviously have to be a bit strict. So 4130 and 215. Where would that be? That would be somewhere there. Where's the Asian high? Hmm. It's quite a small stop, isn't it? We need our stops here, really. So we're going to have a little bit of a bigger TP here. Okay, so we're obviously going to rely on Asia. I actually do think that this is going to break. tap us in, um, and then continue to the downside. I think that this Asian should hold pretty well. One, two, three, four. TP1's a bit hard. TP1 is a little bit hard because there is no the only thing we've got in between TP1 and TP2 is this here. So we're gonna raise it to the middle of it. All right, something like that. Let's get back onto the 2 hour. So that's our TP1 and this our TP2. Go. Oh, I've got the worst neck ache. I had it from not yesterday, the day before. You know when you sleep on a pillow and you wake up and you're like that. Yeah, that's what I've had. Right, XAUSD sell trade idea. That's what I am looking at today. Those are my three. Those are my reasons why. So yeah, let's wait and see what happens. Right, let's have a look at some of these questions here. Um, Alex, hi Dan. Is the 2 year yields a good indicator as well? I wouldn't really I wouldn't really complicate it too much. Uh, so stick to the 10. Would a rate hike from ECB today hurt the dollar very much or less impact? They are going to, and guarantee pretty much look through the history. They're going to they're going to stick where they are. All right. One thing you'll find out is it's normally pound and the dollar which are out. All right. Yen is always on point. China's always on point. Euro's on point. Aussie is normally pretty good, but obviously today's been a a shock employment. That's obviously why it obviously flew. If you look at Aussie Asia, it's gonna that's why I'm staying away. It's gonna trade pretty much within. I would imagine you're not going to see Aussie trade out of this region today, so it isn't worth it. Um, Greg, we're going normal size. Look, we've got to do what we've got to do. I'm always happy to, risk what I risk. I'm obviously happy to take a loss, but I would rather, I would rather, express that obviously, yes, we've got could have a pending tweet at any time. So make sure the stops are obviously in place. Alex, could you explain in short the macro impact for jobless claims? I swear I explained this the other day on the boot camp, but right, initial jobless claims and continuing jobless claims. This is obviously jobs data. More jobs, the better, because it means more people are earning money. It means companies are expanding because obviously an expanding company has to take on, more staff, so it's more money going round, it's more tax, it's more everything. The government, believe it or not, in no matter which country, want you working because, if you're not working, then obviously they're going to be paying for you. And obviously, if they're paying for you, they're using money, tax money that they've got from somebody else, and they've got to give a bit of it to you. Whereas if if there's more people in work, then yeah, it's better for an economy. I think we've had kind of mixed data, but obviously this is yes, normally if we didn't have this, dark cloud here of this, war happening, if we didn't have oil driving, I think it's over 3% today, over 3.2% today. So oil is driving high, and obviously that's more of an impactor. Anyone who's investing money, you've kind of got to think about it, right? You've got a billion. Yeah. What are you going to be thinking about? Obviously, it is completely different to trading, 500, 1K, whatever. But obviously, you've got a billion, and you have to, you've got to trade it cautiously. All right. With this escalation happening, you're going to split up your assets, right? You're going to want to cover you. So that's why gold's had this little pump because as much as they believe escalation, you will always hedge with money that size. So gold early part of the week has had a bit of an influx, so yeah, you obviously have to be aware. Um, right, be more. What's the stop loss? Not getting it. Okay, so I draw these up. Yeah, stop loss. Then we have TP1. If you want three entries, you can only have one entry if you wanted to. And if you were, I'd go for this middle entry. However, I do entry one, entry two, entry three. You got a stop loss here, TP1 here, TP2 here. I put all the prices here. I mark it out, live. So yeah, and there'll be a screenshot this picture. So all you got to do is click on the picture and look at these prices here. All right, that's all. So hopefully that helps. Ian, probably the hours you're on the charts. It's been one of those. Eddie, is the macro tools still up and running? No, I told you guys it was a member. We're not sure who, but obviously someone thought it'd be a great idea to not hack me, but to obviously read the code and realize that obviously it costs me money for every time we click. And obviously it was costing me probably about $100 a week. Um, but for some reason I woke up Saturday and it had just been churning and it was like a grand. Um, and then I woke up, or I come into the afternoon, and it was another 500. So they drained $1,500, which is cool. I mean, I'm a great believer of karma, but obviously, 1,500 bucks is a lot. Yeah, so I've switched it off. It was the only thing that I could do. But it's a shame because obviously I handed it out to everyone for free. So yeah, it's a bit of a kick in the teeth, but so I'm gonna wait and see what we're gonna do with it. I might hand it out again, but obviously only to certain people who we can kind of trust a bit and obviously track. So that's the goal here. But you know what? It is what it is. I don't really get stressed about stuff. I don't have to. So it's just uh, shame. So yeah, everyone's got different logins, but we can't remember, right? I've made it. All right, I'm not a tech guy. I also didn't want to spend thousands of pounds on it, so big because it doesn't need it. I had it. I programmed everything. I basically put my brain into it, what I was looking at, and obviously it was working really, really well. So I didn't really want to overexpose it because obviously it's, something that I wanted to hand out for free. But yeah, like always, one person's, spoiled it for everyone, So yeah, I'm gonna bring it back. I just want to make sure it's, 100% right. So I've hired, someone to go into detail and obviously hide bits of the code and stuff like that. So yeah. Um, right. iPhone 4, mind check BTC for us last few weeks. Had some nice setups. Let's have a quick look at BTC. I mean, I imagine I'm expecting it to tumble. I think we're gonna breach this here and potentially come into this area. If we look at weekly time frame, we do have these lows here. So potentially might be looking at something like this. Who knows? But obviously, if dollar keeps, strengthening, then yeah, I'm expecting a bit of a tumble. You can't be looking to buy. Yeah, it needs to bob. It needs to bottom out before. Um, or if you looking to buy, trade it like you would anything. It needs to clear here. So if it obviously clears here, then yeah, look to buy if you want to err on the, side of caution. But what I would like to kind of see is a bottom out here, and then it stays here for a while, then we kind of know that, it might potentially, look at Bitcoin is traded by complete amateurs, so that's why it's all technical and it's all, because there are no macros, there's no reason why, so yeah, or you just have that structure where you just buy every 10K, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, and then you're almost dollar cost averaging in because you're covered either way. So, but obviously once you start that's there's so many strategies that you can do. But obviously if this goes down to 50, just have a goal that every 10 you're gonna buy. All right, you know. And the beauty of Bitcoin, you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. It might be that you buy it over all of this space and that's your whole Bitcoin, but actually your best entries here. So there's loads of ways to do it, but it's long term. It isn't quick. So uh, be more. I'm a network architect. Yeah, cool. Drop me a message after. I'm always open, for obviously additional help. So yeah, feel free to drop me a message. Right, I'm gonna end it here. And yeah, let's make sure we have obviously another good day. I will be doing the boot camp later, so it'll be 8 p.m. So yeah, have a great Thursday and let's smash it. Have a good one, team. Have a good one.